His name is Angel Vivaldi.
Angel Vivaldi.
Angel Vivaldi.
You have to throw yourself into very challenging situations.
Why the guitar?
My family was just like, guitar was my voice.
The whole aesthetic thing was natural since the beginning, and it's also part of your brand.
And it's like having sex, really into it, and then you have to stop. The result was
Amazing.
100% worth it, man.
Back then, it was all about playing the guitar, but right now, you have to be able to do many, many things.
The way that they're speaking in life, because they're getting hit with so much information, is exactly how they speak on guitar.
We all are like victims of our times.
I've never heard a guitarist my age to say that they're actually jealous of. There's no need to compete with anyone at all, man. Just focus on being the best guitarist that you can be, and that's it.
Muy buenos chicos, bienvenidos a un nuevo podcast. Como siempre, tengo a mi lado a Carlos.
¿Qué tal? Hola a todos. ¿Qué tal, Borja?
Yo muy bien, ¿tú cómo estás?
Bastante bien.
¿Bastante bien?
Bastante bien.
Hoy la verdad que tenemos un episodio un poco diferente, pero antes de entrar en materia, parece ser que tenemos un problema, Carlos.
Parece ser que esto acaba de comenzar y ya tenemos un problema,
Sí.
Borja.
¿Cuál es el problema, Carlos?
Pues el problema es que no me callo ni debajo del agua.
Y yo que no hablo demasiado, así que solo diré una cosa. Se la vi.
Se la vi.
Se la vi.
Aquí se ha juntado el hambre con las ganas de comer.
Efectivamente,
A lo mejor,
es algo, y es algo nuevo que acabamos de comenzar y nosotros en principio lo que se nos da un poquito mejor es tocar el instrumento y bueno, es algo,
Aparente a mí se me da mejor hablar que
Sí.
tocar, fíjate.
bueno, es debatible,
Debatible, bueno.
pero bueno, sin más, yo tampoco lo veo como un problema como tal, poco a poco ir interactuando un
La
poquito
idea es
más
esta.
con-
Claro, esto es una cosa nueva para los dos.
Claro,
la iniciativa es algo que nos hace mucha ilusión y estamos
Sí.
aprendiendo on the go.
Claro, y yo estoy completamente fuera de mi zona de confort todo el rato, entonces claro, pues no es fácil. Para
Poco
la
a
gente
poco.
que se está exponiendo cada 2x3 ya sabe lo que es y no es tan fácil, pero bueno, se la vi.
Se la vi, como dice mi buen amigo Borja, y yo intentaré ser más comedido en mis intervenciones en lo sucesivo.
Pero no hoy.
Pero no hoy. Hoy tenemos este primer capítulo con invitado. Hemos tenido un invitado muy, muy especial, Angel Vivaldi.
Sí.
Angel Vivaldi,
El grande.
el grande.
Huele
pues,
bien ya desde aquí.
Desde aquí.
Sí.
Es una de las personas que lo ves y dices, es que lo
Sí.
tiene todo este muchacho.
No, sí, un placer.
La entrevista ha sido maravillosa,
Un placer tenerlo aquí, desde luego.
sin duda. Y sobre todo, bueno, avisaros de que la entrevista ha sido en inglés.
Sí.
Y que tendréis que activar los subtítulos para comprenderla. Así que, bueno, esperamos que lo disfrutéis.
Eso es.
Durante la entrevista, yo ya tenía en mente callarme un poco más y tú hablar un poco más.
Sí.
No sé cómo habrá salido.
Ya lo veremos.
Sea como sea, no lo dejéis en los comentarios, no hace falta, ya nos ha quedado claro. Borja, ¿vamos a ello?
Eso es.
Pues
A por
esperemos
ello.
que disfrutéis
Que lo
muchísimo
disfrutéis, chicos.
la entrevista con Ángel. Hello everyone and welcome to this new episode for the podcast, and we have a really great friend and guest for today's episode. His name is Angel Vivaldi, and we are so pleased to have him on the program. So first thing first, hi Borja,
Hi, man.
and hey Angel.
What's going on, guys? How are you?
What's up, man?
Very good, very happy to have you here.
Mucho gusto, mucho gusto.
Mucho gusto, mucho gusto. we tried to have Angel to do the podcast in Spanish, but not this one. Maybe the next time he will be able to. But he said some beautiful things in Spanish. Probably we will try to get some Spanish word for him. Angel, for all the people that maybe doesn't know you, I would love to have you, present yourself for all of them.
Yeah. So I'm a recording artist, and touring artist. I've been doing guitar instrumental since 2003, way before it was cool, when no one listened to it. So I'm showing my age a little bit, but yeah, I've been independent since 2003. I've been doing my career and managing myself and the whole thing, my entire career. And, it's branched out into a lot of different things, but ultimately, yeah, I'm a songwriter and a guitarist and many other things, but that's the gist of it.
And a wonderful person. I had the pleasure to meet you in New York a few years ago. Time flies, I have to say.
Oh, I know. It feels like yesterday.
You said something about the age, but you look really good, so don't go too much.
It's just Instagram filters right now.
No, I don't think so. Look at this gray hair here, Nah, come on. So yeah, it's the first time we actually do a podcast with a guest. So we'll try to do our best. And for the people listening, English is not our first language. So we will try hard to do something that works for this program with Angel, and probably we'll get better in the future. Borja's a little bit worried about that.
Yeah, I am.
You are. Don't be worried.
Pues mira, tú hablas inglés más mejor que yo puedo hablar español. So, bravo.
Bravo.
Yeah, but I haven't done anything like this before, so it's a bit weird for us, I think.
New things are always scary, I think. So we are all in the same page here.
Yeah, man. But listen, that's music and the entertainment industry in general. It's you have to sort of throw yourself into very challenging situations. And I think doing it in 2025, I was going to say 2024, but where time is going, the life and the industry and the career that we chose, it forces us into really uncomfortable situations. And I always felt that just going all the way in the deep end is the best way to sort of get used to, and to sort of grow. And sometimes, I mean, you get really good at it. Sometimes you'll say, oh man, that was really hard. I never want to do that again. So, yeah, it's just part of what we sign up for,
Yeah. Definitely.
challenging ourselves.
I think that's the only way to do it. You have to improve, and that's it.
I think it translates to life, like I've learned like most of the lessons, life lessons I have learned during my life went through the music thing, like meeting people, pushing boundaries and insecurities, all that stuff. And again, here we are. But yeah, to start from somewhere, this is a guitar channel. It's supposed to be. So I will, and this is not an interview. This is a podcast. So it's like we'll talk, but we have to start somewhere. So I know you for a long time. You know the story. When I talked to you in New York about how it was very fun. Maybe one day I will explain to the people. But it was very, very funny. But I remember the first time I saw you in YouTube back then. As a guitar player, you are always looking for new players and get inspired by them. And I was really impressed about, instrumental music, really dedicated to that, phenomenal playing. I have to ask, why the guitar? Why you started to play guitar to express artistically when you were young? Because you started pretty young, isn't it?
Yeah, so I started when I was 13. So it depends. I mean, some people say that's late. Some people say it's young. It depends. For me, the first instrument that I was really interested in was piano when I was younger. And you have to understand, I think maybe people can relate to this, but when I was younger, I'm Puerto Rican. So my family was just like, when it comes to music or anything like that, they're just very, I guess, narrow-minded or a little bit more simple in their perspective back then. Because again, that was in the 90s. And there wasn't a lot of support for me to pick up an instrument at all. So when I became a teenager, obviously you sort of force a level of independence. You want to do what you want to do. And I think a lot of teenagers, when you're that age, you're just angry, like you're just angry. You're sort of figuring yourself out. And you're also very powerless to your life, right? Because your parents are your parents. You have to go to school. You're dealing with people at school. So I chose the guitar because I was really influenced by, rock music. So Nirvana was the first band that really influenced me to pick up a guitar. And I think that's what it was. I think if maybe I had a different upbringing, it probably would have been piano. And I probably would have sang. But yeah, for some reason, I think the guitar just would have resonated with me. And I think when you're a baby, you're starting to learn how to speak, right? Like you're sort of sort of figuring out communication. I think music being a universal language, you sort of figure out what language you want to speak. Do you want to speak piano? Do you want to speak guitar? Do you want to speak bass? Do you want to speak vocal? So for me, guitar was my voice to express, I think, a lot of the emotions that I had.
Do you think that this, you just said you were young, and of course, when we are teenagers, we have this, I don't know, anger within. We feel like we are like old enough, but we have the parents there. You cannot do what you want. Do you think that the electric guitar as an instrument is a good way to express that anger through the sounds and the music? I know every instrument can be played in a really violent way, we know that. But for some reason, there's something about the electric guitar that you can bring it, you can have it, with you and run and jump. Do you think that had something to do?
Yeah, I think you made a good point. Any music can be angry. I mean, if you listen to Vivaldi's Storm, that's metal, bro. Like that is a very heavy riff, and obviously listening to classical guitar is very beautiful, but I think guitar has a certain it's a very raw instrument. Like piano, you press a button and that's the sound, essentially. With guitar, you have to connect to it a little bit. I don't want to say deeper, but like it's, how when a piano player is playing, there's no finger tone. It's just the piano. Guitar, it carries your voice in a way that you can't control.
I mean, you have to manipulate the strings. You are in touch with them. You have to manipulate the whole thing to get the sound through. In fact, I always talk with the students about that. When you play drums or you play, let's say, piano, like the chord when you start, you hit, let's say, in the piano a key, and it sounds perfectly in tune and perfect. And you can hit, the snare, and somehow you get a beautiful sound out of it. But guitar is horrible at the beginning. Like you just start putting the fingers.
Yeah, it's like the violin. Something
Yeah,
like
all that kind of fret instruments are horrible.
Yeah, it's tough because you have to really be, in tune, mentally, spiritually, sonically. And it's a very vulnerable instrument, especially acoustic guitar. It's a very vulnerable instrument. You really can't hide behind anything, and it is designed imperfectly. It's never 100% in tune. And you have to find ways to compensate for how it sounds. So I think depending on what genre of music influences you when you're young, I think it's a really good instrument to express many different emotions, man. Many different emotions. Anger, sadness, happiness. It's all, because if you listen to Dave Matthews, like that's pretty, depending on the song, it could be very joyful and uplifting, or, Megadeth, which is very like aggressive and angsty. So yeah, I love it.
Yeah. And do you think the guitar is your only way of expression?
No, for me, definitely not, man. The first ever artistic expression for me was dancing. Dancing for me, it was a very big part of my community growing up, because obviously Hispanics, we love to dance. That was the first ever artistic expression I had as a kid. And then it was music, and then eventually doing what I do for a career, it's become a lot more visual as well. So a lot of any outlet for expressing myself artistically, I go for it. Whether it's designing how a guitar looks, or what I'm wearing. I love fashion. Whether it's if I'm doing a photo shoot, what the room looks like, set design, and obviously video production and direction. A lot of my music videos are very visually driven. There's a lot of things going on, and it's just been amazing. So any opportunity I get to express myself artistically, I just do it. And like right now, I'm actually writing a book, and that's another expression of being able to create something, like you're writing words and you're creating, you're communicating something. And I think with instrumental music, since it has no words, I think it helps because you have so many other opportunities to show people what you mean, right? Um, because with instrumental music, again, like, if you listen to a song like See a Heartbreak, if you're familiar with the song, it's a ballad. And, you know, that word See a Heartbreak can mean a million different things. I mean, depending on, obviously, See a Heartbreak is sort of direct, it's like obviously it should be a sad song, but then when you listen to it, it's actually sort of uplifting. So at the end of the day, it's not my responsibility, you know, it's not my responsibility to own how people perceive my music, but for me, whether it's the wardrobe or the video itself, I like to take as much initiative to help people understand what I mean.
Yeah, yeah. Because I remember, like, since the beginning, the first time I was able to watch a performance by you, it was on YouTube, and you can tell that you have a taste for aesthetics, and everything is really well thought. Even in the beginning, and I can imagine that in the future, you get more resources and you get to put those ideas, better in better production. But since the beginning, you can see that you really pay attention on that. So I would like to know, like, with the dance thing and everything, is something natural for you to try to create out of anything you have inside? And it looks like, for me, it looks like a guitar. Everyone knows you because of the instrumental music and your composer, as a composer and as a guitar player. But it looks like the whole aesthetic thing was natural since the beginning, and it's also part of your brand, and goes really, really together with the music and together with the playing and together with the whole experience of listening to your music.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think, yeah, again, any type of, and it's also a matter like the type of music that I'm doing at the time. So, my last record was quite different. And even that, like, I'm not going to do a music video or wear a wardrobe or do an idea that's like metal for something that's Latin jazz. It just doesn't, you have to be honest with what the song wants, So the last record was the first time I started thinking about what I wanted for the music videos and stuff as I was writing it. So there's two songs on the last record that had a lot of dancing, which is a song 8 and 9. And again, even the style of dance, the first time I did some sort of choreography was for a song called Serotonin.
I remember
Nina Strauss.
Yeah.
And that was fun, it was fun, but it was much more, the style of choreography was more hip hop driven, where the song 8, which is like a salsa samba sort of fusion song, like that's all salsa, because I can't dance samba, like that's just hard. So, and then for 9, it was just more like sort of like funk, sort of Motown. So I think the thing is, it's just, I think certain people are just born with certain things, man. So it doesn't mean that you can't get good at those things. Actually, I'll tell you a story. So when I was 19, I met Steve Vai. I met him twice in one day. Funny enough.
Okay.
And this was in 2005 or 2004. I don't know. I was 19 years old, and it was like the Evo experience. And he had a bunch of people there. We can ask him questions and stuff. And as he's asking people questions, he gave us his Evo to play, right? So he was passing his guitar around. So Vi was here, and there's a bunch of people, and I was the last one right next to him to get the guitar, right? So you're passing the guitar around, and I get his guitar, and I'm like, what do I play on this thing, right? What do I possibly play on Steve Vai's guitar? So I'm sitting there, and I'm like, playing really fast. And he was in the middle of answering someone's question, and he stopped. He was just like, he stopped answering the question. He turns and looks at me, and I thought, he just gave me a look, and me soltó, like I was scared, because I was like, am I being rude? I didn't mean, I'm so sorry,
Of course.
And he goes, how old are you? And I was like, 19. And he goes, how long have you been playing? I was like, 4 or 5 years. And I was like, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to be rude. I wasn't trying to be loud. I was just like, really, And he goes, man, there's 2 different types of guitar players. There's guitar players like me who have to sit and play 6 to 8 hours a day to be good. And then there's guitar players like you who in 5 years pick up the guitar and that, they connect with it in a certain way. And I mean, that coming from Vi was kind of crazy for me at 19, but I think there's something to what he said. I think that one guitar player is not better than the other, natural or unnatural.
Yeah.
It just means that one has to work harder to get, some people are just given a head start. Like there's certain things that I'm really shitty at, that I'm not good at all, that in order to get good at, I have to practice a lot, even guitar techniques, like hybrid picking is not something that I do, right? I do it a little bit, but for me, that's not a natural thing that comes to me. I would have to work at it 6 to 8 hours a day to get really good at it, or playing bebop or freeform jazz. That is hard. That's really hard. So yeah, some people are just giving gifts. Some people grow up and they're athletes. They have the genetics. They connect with whatever it is, with martial arts or football or basketball, whatever. That wasn't my genetic gift. My genetic gift was in the arts.
Yeah.
And yeah, some people are just good at certain things than others, but I don't think one is better than the other. Just one has to work a little harder.
Yeah, definitely. I was about to say that definitely I can tell. I also remember when you say, because you have to be kind of proactive when it comes to the artistic expression. Many people goes I would like to do this or do that, but you actually do that. I remember, I don't remember your album, but which one was that? You actually painted your walls in the studio with different colors to make a documentary about that. Yeah. And that is really, that speaks volumes about the proactivity you have to go and run the extra mile to create something, an artistic expression. Was it that a really good idea or a bad idea at the end? Like the painting the walls by your face, I can tell that it was great so much.
No, man, I went through a beautiful hell doing that. That was, man, I don't even know what to say. That was honestly the craziest thing I've ever done. That was a project that was very, it was a very emotional project for me, but it was the hardest project I've ever had to do. So I did film a documentary, as I was doing everything. So yeah, for the people who aren't aware, I did a record called Synapse, and it's about neurotransmitters in the brain, like brain chemicals. And I always wanted to do a record that was very sort of erratic, so adrenaline, serotonin, dopamine, all these different chemicals in the brain are responsible for different emotions and different activities. So I'm very, very fascinated by psychology. I feel like if I wasn't an artist, I would have gone into, being a psychologist to some degree or in some field, because it's a very dense field. And what I did was I got into color psychology, and so I was getting into video editing, and I always was fascinated with how the color grades on video incite different emotion. For instance, in a doctor's office, it's very blue and gray. If you're getting a bad diagnosis, God forbid, it's a dramatic sort of feeling. And then when a video's in Mexico or on Mars, it's always warm, and orange. So I always, when I was a kid, I was like, oh, that's very interesting. So there's a whole psychology behind colors and how they sort of affect people. So what I did was, it's an 8-song record or 9-song record. I can't remember. And I assigned a color to every song. So serotonin was green, dopamine was black, GABA was purple, adrenaline was red. And I painted my studio red. and I wrote Adrenaline. Painted my studio orange, and I wrote Endorphin. Painted my studio yellow, did Oxytocin, and I did this for every song. Now, I wasn't aware, when you paint a black wall,
Yeah.
you can't just paint a black wall.
Yeah.
That is the last one to do, isn't it?
Yeah, and I had to do it in order.
Yeah.
So I had to do it light color to dark color. But yeah, when you paint a wall black, you have to do a gray primer first, then you do it black. You want to paint red wall, you have to do a pink primer,
Okay.
and then you paint it red.
Yeah, you have to paint them before.
Fucking nightmare. I painted that studio 20-something times
My God.
because I screwed up. I didn't realize you had to do the primer, and I was filming everything. And it was much more than the paint. For instance, when I did Serotonin and I did the room green, I filled my studio with plants. I wore green clothes.
Great.
I only wrote it in the day. And then I'm filming everything, you know. So as I'm writing and playing, the camera will stop, run out of battery, full card, whatever. So I have to stop what I'm doing. It's like having sex, really into it, and then you have to stop. Sorry, my condom broke, and then I have to go and fix my camera.
Yeah, it's a bad idea.
Fucking nightmare, absolute nightmare. But the result was
Amazing.
100% worth it, man. I mean, I think when I listen back to it, like I feel exactly, because obviously I was there and I remember, but I feel like when I listen to Adrenaline, it sounds like Adrenaline.
Yeah.
And when I listen to Oxytocin, it sounds like Oxytocin, you know? But so a lot of people ask me, well, where's the documentary? So legally, because I had my very good friend, Ollie Herbert, who passed away in 2018. Legally, I can't release anything right now. I have to wait. So I don't want to have the documentary released without him. So I have to wait a little bit. I mean, it's been like 7 years now, but it's okay. I'm a patient man. It'll come out at some point. So you can see the hell that I went through.
I can see. I imagine that somehow, you know, I don't know where I saw some stuff about that, and you were like in a like painting the wall in, I think it was in yellow, and I was like, the first thing I thought about was like, this is crazy. It's a great idea, but to pull that out, this is really, really complicated thing to do.
Yeah, it's a good idea to see.
To see, yeah, like I enjoy watching you painting the wall, but not painting it myself.
Yeah. No, I did everything. I mean, there is a little preview of the documentary on YouTube that if people are interested, they could sort of like see a couple clips of how it looks and stuff. But eventually, yeah. But even putting that documentary together is going to be a lot of work, you know, because
I can't wait to see that, and I highly recommend anyone that is listening to the show to go and check that out, because it's crazy, and the idea is beautiful, and that says speaks again volumes about the proactivity to go and walk that extra 2,000 miles to paint the walls. I mean, my wife wants me to paint like 2 walls, and she's waiting for that. Yet still, it's around here, so probably this is to happen. I will do it, probably. Anyway, so talking about again creativity and all the, you know, it's difficult to you know put that in numbers, but in your own opinion, how much, let's say in a scale of 10, aesthetics outside of the musical expression are important for a musician?
it really depends.
Thank you.
Every musician has different rules. There are certain musicians who don't need any video at all, who don't need, it's not part of their expression, you know, and they have a different strength, you know. Everyone has a different balance. It's like a key, you know, when you look at a key, una llave,
Yep, la llave.
una llave. They're all different. Tiene diferentes dientes.
Perfecto, Ángel. Lo haremos en español al final. Sí, yo creo que sí, ¿eh?
Right. And every shape is different. So for me, it's like, you know, the music, but it's also the guitar playing. It's the production, the mix. It's the musicians that I have playing for me, my drummer, my bassist, you know. Then it's the videos, then it's the photos, then it's who I am as a person, because obviously the type of person that you are, if you're talking in front of a camera, I don't care what anyone says, it influences how people enjoy your music. So that's another aspect of it. But some people, especially now, have a lot of anxiety talking in front of a camera, so they don't do any podcasts, they don't do any interviews. Or again, they don't like being in front of a camera, so they don't do any videos. Or they don't like to tour, so they don't tour. Everyone has a different combination of strengths and weaknesses, and the game to be successful is to have your strengths compensate for your weaknesses in a way that makes your music connect with people. And it's also timing. So whatever people are into at that time, that's what makes your music relatable. So at the end of the day, really what it really comes down to is the combination of your music. Listen, music at the end of the day and a good song is going to be the 100% reason why people connect with you, right? Yeah,
Sure.
but there's many ways to connect. So for instance, there are people who are really big on Instagram and TikTok, and they're just scrolling, and people just want 15 seconds worth of their music. They're not going to go to their Spotify and listen to a whole song, right? We've seen that a bunch of times. They'll have millions of followers online, but then when you go to their Spotify, there's very little in comparison. So but that's their strength. Their strength is short form, inspirational content, because we've seen it. I'm sure you've gone on Instagram and see like the most amazing 15-second solo. And even for me, I'm like, oh my God, I want to play guitar right now. And that's inspirational. And that's very influential. And I think that still holds value. But the value as time goes, it changes. So it really just depends. I would say, for artists, try to have some sort of aesthetic or a signature thing that works for you, visually, sonically, and see what people connect to. Because people might not care so much about the visual, or people might not care so much about how fast you play. Sometimes people might just care about, they don't want to see your face. They just want to see this. They just want to see your guitar, and they just want to hear what you have to say. So, yeah, it's just different for everyone.
Really good point of view. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Te dejo hablar porque a veces se me vale. Te dejo hablar un poco. Because usually, like we are starting with the podcast, I used to talk too much, and Borja speaks too little, and then I'm afraid to be, like.
No, it's fine.
It's fine, Borja.
Yeah, for me
And
it's
I keep
fine.
going, okay.
Yeah. I wish I could speak more, but it's fine.
It's fine. I'm just checking on him, I don't want to be. I want to be polite.
It is polite.
If I start talking, I won't even stop. So yeah, I'm behaving. So yeah, you hit a good point with the whole social media thing, because for the musician, it looks like nowadays, like you started playing with 14 to 13 years old. I started playing in the 90s as well, way before the internet stuff. And back then it was all about playing the guitar, but right now is you have to be able to do many things, like recording video, and being good at recording music, and being good at editing stuff, and with the actual social media, and I don't know, it's a little bit scary, and I feel a little bit bad for the young generation, because for some reason I feel like they cannot just enjoy playing the guitar and that's it. In the formative years, it looks like they are like actually thinking already in I have to upload content, or at least be in front of the content, which is also a game changer. What do you think about that?
Yeah, listen. So I mentioned that I'm writing a book, and a lot of the writing that I'm doing, it requires a lot of thought, like in a different way. Like, so for instance, I felt the same way that you did, right? like, oh man, these poor kids, like they have so much pressure on them. But you have to understand that like it's relative, because for us, we have pressure too. We didn't have an internet. We had to go out and play in bars and shit. So that was our struggle, which was difficult because there was no opportunity for us to even have a small career. None at all. We're playing in bars for free.
Yeah.
We did that for years. Kids, good. It's good that they have to work like that because they have way more of an opportunity to actually have a career, you know? So it's a balance, you know? It's like, because the thing is, back when we were kids, it was Metallica, it was Megadeth, it was Fear Factory, it was Korn, it was Limp Bizkit. There was probably, 50 to 200 bands that were the biggest bands in the world, right?
Yes.
Maximum. Now it's like it was like an ocean. Like, so the ocean of fame in the 90s was like this. Very deep but narrow.
Yeah.
Now the ocean went lower, but it's spread out for us.
Yes.
Right?
Compressed.
So now, you know, I probably, I don't know, but I probably won't become as big as Metallica, but I can make a living doing what I do.
Yes.
You know, Persephone can exist.
Yes.
You know, Animals as Leaders can exist. You know, will they ever be as big as like, you know, like Pat Metheny? Probably not, but they actually have an opportunity to just make a comfortable living.
Yeah.
So, you know, the opportunity is just like, yeah, listen, we all have struggles. No one's problems in life are bigger than anyone else's. We had a lack of opportunity, but we had something special. Actually, thinking about it, we probably have it better.
I do agree with you.
Yeah, we have both. We had the old school, no internet, just loving how to play guitar, looking at VHS tapes, Rock Discipline.
The golden years.
So yeah, I would say that because we had analog childhoods and digital adulthoods, we actually are the benefactors of a tremendous advantage.
I think you hit it with everything has like two sides, you know, like something is good, but at the same time it comes with some kind of challenge with it. Even the last thing you just said, like we were able to experience guitar when everything was like, you know, when life was really like slower. You remember that? Like, you know, those summer were like 2 years now, one summer. But now, and now we are able to experience and get advantage of the digital world as well. But I have to say that we had to learn as well. It was another challenge. Even for me, it is actually right now. But again, everything comes with a price somehow.
Yeah, remember all those bad guitar tabs?
Yeah, man. In code, you remember back then in the 90s, it was like in the internet and people was like typing tabs with a ASCII code.
Yeah.
Anyway, and everything was wrong, but we were like trying to play Ingve with that.
Yeah. I remember like there was Smells Like Teen Spirit version 13, you know? That's just how it was, but I think
definitely, yeah.
We have to trust
I miss that sometimes.
Yeah, we had to trust our ears a little bit more. You know, I think that our ear training, because we didn't have YouTube or lessons online. Like I couldn't take a lesson with, you know, Per Nielsen back in the day. You know, now I can.
Definitely.
You know, if you want a lesson with someone, you can, you know,
you can
we just hit them up and say, all right, now, you know.
And also the magic, you know, the mystic part, you know, you those guitar players, you know, they was something about them, like few information. And I don't know, I remember I was like like 18 or something like that. I was a huge Angra fan. It's the band that Kiko had Back then, it was impossible to find anything with Kiko playing in video back then. And I was crazy to be able to see him play. And nowadays, he has like everything to see, and it's crazy. It's like times are really putting everything on the spot, and it's easy to get there. But again, it has a price as well. Maybe there's too many things also. So
Yeah, it's there. It is overwhelming, because there is just so much out there. But you know, it's I once came across this thing. It's not the age of information; it's the age of curation.
yeah,
At this point, because now the information is all there. Now we just have to find it,
yes,
organize it, and and learn from what we can, because it's like being hit over and over. And this is one thing that I was thinking about: the difference in guitar players from back in the day compared to now. So this was something I've been talking to people a little bit, and I would love to get your input on this. So obviously back in like the 90s, and when you listen to like Joe Satriani's or the Eric Johnsons,
Yeah.
the melodies were were just different. They were very direct. Same thing with George Benson. I listened to a lot of jazz back in the day too. So the melodies were very direct. They weren't really as complicated or as busy as they are now. I think you could probably agree to that, but with exception, of course. Now, when like artists like Polyphia started becoming more popular, because they're obviously younger than us,
a lot.
they yeah. And the funny thing was, at first I was kind of like another one of my buddies, Ichikanito,
Yeah.
all those guys that sort of do this neo soul kind of
Yes.
music.
Modern, yeah.
Yeah, when I first heard it, I thought it was amazing. It's just like the technique is incredible, but I couldn't understand. Like I couldn't
Connect.
I just couldn't connect to it for some
Yeah.
reason, And I think part of it was just it didn't hit me. It didn't it made me want to pick up my guitar, but I wouldn't listen to it on Spotify. You know what I'm saying? Like I
Definitely.
wasn't super into it. And I think a part of it was just not being able to relate to it. And I think a part of it was like my ego, just sort of like, these are young kids. I'm doing my own thing, and there's this competitive aspect. 'Cause I'm a very competitive person, but as you get older, you have to really be honest with that. I don't think many guitarists, we'll put it this way. I've never heard a guitarist my age say that they're actually jealous of Polyphia. I feel like I'm the first one to actually say like,
Okay.
yeah, I was. It's important to say that, because when you say it, it sort of washes it away, and you can sort of think about, well, why am I jealous of that?
Yes.
Well, you could sort of think about, all right, well, obviously because they're incredibly successful, and as men who play guitar, there's an energy there, right?
Yes, definitely.
We all have it. I had to step back, and I started this company called the Zenith Council. Now, the Zenith Council is where I do a lot of my guitar lessons, and I do a lot of music coaching. And I started working with a lot of younger guitar players and listening to their music and helping them. And what I realized was just like, you know what, man? Listening to how young people speak, so I have this one idea, and then I need to. They're very.
It's like a Polyphia riff.
Yeah.
Exactly. So the way that they're speaking in life, because they're getting hit with so much information, is exactly how they speak on guitar.
Yeah.
They're very long shrifts, right?
Yeah.
It's a shrift. And when I realized that, man, like I feel like this weight was just like lifted from my heart and my ears. And when I realized that that's just what they're doing, I was like, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. And now, like, I'll listen to them on Spotify because I understand what they're trying to say. Because when I first started, younger generations from the 80s and the 70s said the same thing about me.
That's it. That's it.
Everything is the same shit.
We are
It's cycle.
go.
Yeah, it's like a cycle.
Yeah, definitely. It goes like in circles, but we all are like victims of our times, you know. But like the way it's like, for example, if I had to show my guitar teacher, the one I had when I started playing guitar, the music I do now, he won't understand anything, and I won't feel even comfortable to show it to him because it's not the language he's used to listen to. He can try to, like you are doing with the Polyphia guys and all this. Like it's fun that you mentioned that because I have this a great friend of mine, a guitar player from Corsica, and we reconnected today with a message. It was like 3-4 years without talking, and we start talking like the kids, you know, some stuff. And then he was like out of the blue, like, "What do you think about the guys like Polyphia and everything? Do you like it? Because I hate it." And he's my age, you know. So I think it's like the same, like my like older musicians will say that, you know, the good one is Eric Clapton and Mike and Knopfler and Jimi Hendrix, and then this Ingve guy is so ugly to listen. And now I think we are growing old, and at least I feel like you are doing it actually, and I really try to understand these young ways of expression with the guitar, even if I don't understand it much, because I don't want to be that guy, you know, like, like
Yeah.
all
We
the
don't
new stuff I don't like it.
be the old people that we didn't like when we were growing up, you know? But
Yes.
listen, when Polyphia are our age in their 50s, they're going to say the same shit about the young people that are coming up then.
Yeah.
And then some young guy will go like and came up with something like boomer bands, but for Polyphia, you know, and then Tim will be so pissed off about it, like it happened with him. I mean, I those guys I really look up to. I'm not able to play anything that they play, and I will say that I don't really understand much what they're doing, but I'm so happy that they exist and they're inspiring new generations, and they're carrying the flag of the young guitar players, and I'm grateful for that. Even if I'm not able to connect with that, maybe in the future, you never know. If you are open enough, sometimes, you know, it clicks.
It does. And as I get older, because to be frank, I don't listen to much metal. I mean, if I'm being completely honest, I think that you guys are one of the few bands that come up on my Spotify that I don't skip the song.
I really appreciate it. I skip the song when my music comes out of Spotify. So I'm grateful you don't.
Well, the thing is, it takes me so long to write my music that when it comes up, I don't want to hear it. I've listened to it for years.
Likewise.
It takes me too long. But, you know, the music that I listen to is a lot of like jazz fusion, like the music that I did on my last record. And
Yeah.
I listen to a lot of EDM, like house and IDM, and a lot of like weird electronic music as well. That's what I predominantly listen to. And I think a lot of us always say, yeah, I want to do an acoustic record, or I want to do a jazz record, and they just never do it, you know, like they just never get around to doing it. And for me, like I play from my heart, man. I don't ever, when it comes to my music or my career or anything artistic, I only do what I want to do. I only do what I want to do, because in life forces us to do so much shit that we don't want to do, that you have to balance that with some level of joy. And that joy is what's going to keep you going, you know, because this is a very fatiguing career. You know, album cycle and the tens of thousands of dollars it takes to put a record out, and videos, again, tens of thousands of dollars depending, you know, and advertising and marketing and stuff.
Yeah.
There's so much shit that we have to do that we don't want to do, that when it comes to the music that I want to write, I don't care. You know, obviously I'm much more known for, you know, progressive, you know, music and rock and metal. But at the end of the day, and I know that it was a big risk to put out my last record, Away with Words Part 2. But again, man, as you get older, like your sense of self just changes, and there's this appreciation for your past experiences. And again, my first ever, I'm Puerto Rican, so I grew up with Spanish music in the house. So we didn't listen to rock or anything like that. So that's a part of me. And I am very grateful for my success. And when I think about it, the way the way that I became successful was because I just played from my heart. I just did what I wanted to do, and why would I stop doing that just because I'm changing genres? That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, at the end of the day, even like you're talking about challenging yourself and with the boomer bands, as you get older, things do change, man, and I don't want to, I don't feel like I want to limit myself because everyone's different, man. But for me personally, I don't want to be 80 years old on stage only playing metal. I think it's cool and I'm still going to do it. Obviously, I'm never going to play a tour where I don't play a Martian Winter or something. But
I have to.
At the end of the day, I just have much more to say. And man, arguably, learning how to play and compose like funk and Latin fusion stuff, it's harder than just putting a metal song together because we've done it.
Of course, it's out of your
Doing it for
ballpark.
a while.
Yeah. But you said something. You said something very interesting. Like you said that I want to do what I want to do because life is really hard on us. We have to deal with a lot of stuff we don't want to go for. But to be able to do what you want to do, you have to know what you want, and that's something really complicated. And yeah, that's the main point with that. It looks like you really know what are you aiming for, and that's nowadays I feel that is really, really complicated to find a person that really first things first knows what he wants, because nowadays you can go anywhere and you can get lost on that ocean of options, but you actually know where you want to go.
Yeah, I mean, but knowing where you want to go changes in time, because I think that there's this I tell this to my students and stuff when I'm doing the mentoring. It's 4 steps. You have to define where you are, then you sort of define where you want to be, then you take action and you monitor that action. So for me now, so I define where I'm at. Okay, I've been doing guitar instrumental music for over 20 years. I've toured the world. I have records out. I have a signature guitar. I've collaborated with all these people. Wonderful. That's great. Okay. Define where I want to be. What do I want to do? Okay. Well, right now, I feel like I want to be a much more complete composer, accomplished composer, a more complete guitar player. I want to learn how to get out of my muscle memory. I want to learn how to play different things and write in different genres. All right, take action. How am I going to do that? Okay, so what is the music that I love the most? Okay, I love jazz fusion. I love funk. I love acoustic guitar playing. All right, I'm going to write a record that is completely different and I'm going to commit myself to doing. And I'm not going to use any of my typical phrases that I typically do all the time. I'm going to be very aware and connected and intentional with the music, and it's going to be hard as hell, but this is what I'm going to do. All right, so then you do that. So then you step forward, you monitor the action. So then you release it, you put it out, you think, and you're just watching how people react to it. Because at the end of the day, this is a business. This is how I pay my bills. This is how I have electricity on right now. This is how I pay for this camera, right? And it's like, for me, my brain is like 65% artistic and 35% business. So when you're taking act and when you monitor the action, you're just watching how people react to it. Because that's none of your business.
Yeah.
But you have to just see if it's something that people are into, or they're like, I don't like this, and you have to, again, then you go back to step 1 after I do that. So right now, I did that last year, and I'm back to step 1. All right, define where I'm at now. Okay, I did that record, and a lot of people really loved it. A lot of people were challenged by it because they said, I think a lot of people were like, this is just, I've never heard anything like this before.
Yeah.
Because they've never been exposed to it. They're not actively going and listening to, John McLaughlin or Al Di Meola. Like they don't know who these people are. They're young,
Crazy.
So it's crazy to
It
it,
is
right?
crazy.
But it's the truth, they're different, So that's the thing. So then, and they're grateful for it because it taught them how to love different types of music. And that's great because I challenged myself to be able to write it. So now I have this wonderful perspective on how to do something that I didn't know I knew how to do before. Right. So, but that's really what it is 4 steps. Define where you are, define where you want to be, you take action, and then you monitor that action. And you do that for the rest of your life. You do that with people. You want to get married? You define where you are. Okay, so, oh man, I have all these problems. People keep cheating on me, or I keep cheating on people. All right, define where you want to be. Man, I just want to get married. I want to have a kid. I want to just one person. This is stressful. Then you take action. You go to therapy. You talk to people. You have accountability, meaning you know that you fucked up in a lot of places and you own it and you fix it, right? And then you meet someone and you don't repeat the patterns of your past, right? And then you get married and then you have a kid and then you monitor that action, right? So when there's a problem in the marriage, you fix it. If there's a leak in your roof, you fix it. And you do that for the rest of that applies to everything in life, man. So yeah, I think that breaking it down like that for me has helped me a lot because again, like you said, it's overwhelming and there's a lot of pressure, but I think when you make it simple like that, it sort of helps out a little bit.
I mean, structure is something really important in every part of life, to be able to get to any point. But I feel I feel it uplifting that you are, sharing with these psychological ideas on the conversation. I think
it's like a full masterclass or something.
More beyond the guitar, a little bit, because all the people that will be here will be here because of the guitar part, but they will find these pieces of advice. Especially, we're talking about young people all the time, so hopefully something will stick with them, to be able to find the way to go forward and move forward with this, stuff we're discussing right now. So really appreciate it.
I hope so. At the end of the day, listen, we all have something in common. We love guitar, and we love guitar-driven music, but you have to think beyond that. Like, we're still people, and we're still emotional, and artists, we're emotional people, and you can't take care of the music part without take caring of the mental part and the emotional part.
Definitely.
And the other thing too is artists, we can't do everything ourselves. I have an incredible band of people like that have been with me since like 2007, my band, my guitarist, my drummer and stuff. And they're also artists and they're also emotional and we all have to work together, right? You guys are in a band.
Yeah. It's like being married, but only with the bad parts.
Especially drummers.
Especially drummers. You know it. So can you just recap of everything we have talked about and say it in Spanish for the audience? Like the whole thing? Take your time.
Mi hermano, mira, yo no...
Porfa, ¿qué tienes que decir?
Estoy sudando.
Estoy sudando.
I want to say that if you think
Go.
that I will leave my band Lamprea because I don't love metal. Yeah, I don't love metal. I don't hear to any kind of metal music. Yeah, I love Meshuggah and Villarta, Humanity's Last Breath, but anything more, I think. And maybe I have to start like doing some things that I love,
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't know. There are a lot of prejudice on metal. When you go into it, it's very difficult to go out without some scars on it, probably.
Yeah.
But
man. Yeah, but here's the thing. I think that because we spent so many years playing metal, listen, man, it's fun playing with high gain.
Yeah.
It is fun playing fast. I don't care what anyone says.
It's
fucking fun.
It is.
And because we learn how to speak this language of metal for decades, we are always going to find it fun, So but again, as time goes on, I think los otros tienen fatiga.
Sí, señor. Sí, señor.
We're fatigued
Yes.
with metal, and there's nothing saying that we, it's okay to listen to different types of music and to start side projects and to do different things, but 65% artistic, 35% business.
Yeah.
The business side of us says, okay, so here's the thing. For me, I had my last record, Away with Words Part 2, which was the more different record. That record was supposed to come out in 2015. But the business side of my brain said, no, you're not ready in your career to be doing crazy shit like that yet. Because it's a risk, So what I did was I was like, all right, to do a different record outside of metal, I have to earn it. So I'm going to put it on the shelf and I'm going to keep giving the people what they know me to do, So I did, I redid an older record, Speed of Dark, then I did Synapse. I did a couple singles, and slowly, that's when I did it. But the thing is, there is something to be said about playing the music. 'Cause here's the thing. I think that if you're a metal artist and you don't listen to metal, that's good, because it's going to make you much more of a unique metal artist, because you're not listening to other people. That's why Lampera is so unique. Like your riffs, like no one riffs like you do. You know what I'm saying? Like the big string skips, like that's your thing. And I think that is a beneficial thing because it just makes you more unique. Once you find your sound, once you find your space, like Persephone, like no one sounds like Persephone like at all. You both sound very, very unique. Whereas a lot of newer guitarists and new bands, they sound very, very similar. They're all doing similar things. So I think it's good that we don't listen to metal, because if we did, we would probably start sounding like everyone else, which is, it's not beneficial.
Doesn't look, it doesn't sound like something really fun in the long road. Definitely.
Yeah. That the string skipping thing, for example, it comes from techno. I really love techno and progressive stuff. That soundscape and huge intervals thing, and that's where I play.
And party, probably. You like party, techno parties?
No.
I know it's your thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, same here, man. Like the one thing that I love that came out of Germany was like hard German techno. I fucking love it, man. A lot of people say it's like very repetitive, but it's meant to dance to, But the melodies, the synth patches that they particularly use, the arpeggiators, like that helps. Like if you're into that, man, like again, like that's the reason why you sound so unique, is because your musical palette that inspires you is unique, So yeah, man, that's it shows, and that's great.
It is very fun because we have, as I said, is the first guest we have in this new journey, and we spend a lot of time like creating some questions and things to ask you, and we haven't asked any of them because the conversation went away, and it's beautiful. But I feel kind of stupid about it because we definitely have a lot of fun. It's fine. Yeah, I think we need to learn a little bit about the podcasting thing still, For everyone listening, we are sorry about that. We will get better, hopefully, in the future.
It's okay. Everyone with podcasts, typically, like you said initially, it's like a conversation. But if you want, I mean, you're more than welcome to ask any of the questions that you want, just in case if you want to edit something later to put it in. I'm okay. Like I've made you guys change the time so many times. Like I have the whole afternoon for you. So
we have like people in here like working with us because we are kind of lame doing this. So they are like trying to,
and we have a lot of money.
Yeah, we had one of the questions I have, like I remember it was like, you are really fit, like really fit. And and
Oh,
ripped. Yeah, like really like ripped. And one of the questions was like, does being in better shape helps you with your musical journey? That was a question we had. Because of course I'm not fit or ripped, and I would like to know, how it is, how it feels in the musical way, if there's some relation or correlation.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, man. Again, as you get older, your body just changes. And so here's the thing. So psychologically speaking, the biggest thing for me is just health. At first, I'll tell you the story about how I got into it. So as a kid, I was obsessed with DiMarzio photo shoots. Obsessed. Anytime because Larry DiMarzio is a fantastic photographer. He's done, a lot of people don't know this, but a lot of the Guitar World magazine covers and Guitar Player, a lot of them were Larry DiMarzio.
I didn't know about that. That's great.
Yeah. Yes. So do you remember the Joe Satriani and John 5 photo shoot? Larry DiMarzio.
Right.
Steve Vai, Real Illusions, 2005, Larry DiMarzio.
Didn't
If
know.
you go to DiMarzio.com, you'll see like all those photos are all taken by Larry DiMarzio.
All right.
And the stylist is a fantastic, just savant stylist named Anthony Sartino. So when I was a kid, I watched all their work. So Anthony Sartino, he styles a lot of those photo shoots. He's also done like Prince, Bon Jovi, Lenny Kravitz. Like he styles everyone. And I love fashion. So fashion and photo shoots and stuff, like that's my thing. But again, from a kid, I remember seeing the ads and I'm like, oh my God. So that's the reason why when you see DiMarzio, the photos on their website, they look different than how the artist typically dresses, Yeah. So that's one of the reasons why the DiMarzio photo shoots look different in terms of the style, is because Anthony and Larry are working on them. So anyway, fast forward, I've been a DiMarzio artist for about a decade now, over a decade, probably 13 years. And it was always my dream as a kid to do a DiMarzio photo shoot. That was one of my biggest dreams. And one day I got the call to do a DiMarzio photo shoot. And I was just like, oh my God, it's finally happened. I'm doing one of these photo shoots. So I was like, man, I'm gonna make sure that this is one of the best photo shoots that they've ever done. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna get fucking ripped. I'm gonna go to the gym, and I'm like, I hired a personal trainer who's one of my best friends now, and I was at the gym 6 times a week with him. So I was spending almost $2,000 a month on a personal trainer because this was like the opportunity of a lifetime for me. And so what ended up happening was, so Anthony Sartino and I, we just started thinking about ideas, right? So I had, I follow a lot of designers. I'm like, check this guy out. Like I have these pieces. We were just sending each other back and forth. And I was just like, I get goosebumps thinking about it, man. Cause it just brought me so much joy. So then we do the photo shoot, and man, it was just like, I remember every minute of being there, and we just had the most amazing time. We were laughing the whole time. We had so much fun. And so typically when you do a DiMarzio photo shoot, you're there for 2 days. You do 1 day photo, and then another day you do video. Yeah. You talk about whatever. And we did the video the first day, and we did the photo shoot the second day. And then we went out to dinner after the photo shoot, and I'm sitting there eating dinner. We're just talking and having a good time. And Larry is sitting next to me, and, he goes, Larry has a particular way of speaking. So there was a little bit of silence, and he goes, Angel, I must say, this is probably one of the most magnificent photo shoots I've done in decades.
Magnificent. It's great.
So honestly, I'm not joking. I was very gracious, and that means a lot to hear. And I was like, would you excuse me for a second? I went to the bathroom and I just fucking bawled my eyes out, man.
My way.
It was just such an amazing experience. So then after the photo shoot was done, my personal trainer, he goes, you got to do a bodybuilding competition. Like, you're fucking ripped. You got to be genetic. Because the thing is in life, like when you do something and you have that goal, you have to, again, you define where you are, you define where you want to be, you take action, and then you do it all over again.
Yes.
So the thing is, and he understood this about the human psychology, you needed a new goal. And he's like, you have to do a bodybuilding competition. You put so much time, because I only had 4 months or 3 months of training before I had to shoot. And he's like, you need to do a show. So what ended up happening was I started training to do a bodybuilding competition. And 2 months before the body competition happened, the pandemic happened.
Oh, no. Yeah.
So, and I was training for about a year. So I trained for 3 months. I did the Demonzio photo shoot, and then I trained for about a year or so of training for a competition, which is different. And then the pandemic happened. So I was never able to do the show. And then there's a psychology with bodybuilding, man. And I got really busy with music. I still train. That's important because as you get older, man, like your body just changes. But the thing is, if you don't take care of your body, the mental part of being an artist and having all this pressure and dealing with stress, it goes to shit. That's why you see me like constantly drinking water.
Yeah.
Like I don't, and it's good filtered water. Like sleep 8 hours a day. Like I don't sacrifice that kind of stuff, man. That's important. Like you can't be stressed out and then try to have a career in music on top of it. Like you just can't, man. You can't. Life is stressful enough. And I'll say one thing, as you know, as I get older, like I can feel my body aging. Like for the first time, I felt it at 36, but now I'm feeling it much more. And then recently I worked with Steve Morse, who
We know, yeah.
and you know he just turned 70, and Al Di Meola recently just turned 70, and I hung out with him a bit recently, and you know, and talking to these older guitar players, you know, they all have arthritis in the hands.
Yeah.
And you know, and I'll say one thing, man, Steve Morse, he's in good shape. He's in good shape. If you look, we did a song called New Country recently, and like if you look at him in that video, like he's fucking ripped, man.
Yes.
I was just like, you know, but at the end of the day, if you want longevity in this industry, you have to take care of yourself, man. Like you have to. Like you don't have to be ripped. That's bullshit. Like you just have to go to a gym 3 times a week, sleep, eat well, and drink water. Like that's really it. You know?
And take care of yourself.
Don't if you can, like I don't drink alcohol at all. I've been drunk like 5 times in my life. Alcohol is fucking awful. Try not to drink alcohol, you know, and a lot of people do, you know, other things like weed and stuff like that. Just fine, do it. Just do it in moderation. Just because you don't know, because you don't want to be old and sick.
Yeah.
Being old is bad enough. You don't want to be old and sick. Because I'll tell you, man, so anyone in their 20s, when you get to be like your late 30s, early 40s, man.
Let alone 44 as I am. I'm waiting. I'm waiting for you at 44. After the conversation.
Yeah, you know, but you feel better about yourself, you know, like
Definitely,
you
yes.
feel like you feel much more confident, you know. I definitely noticed a difference about like just even being at NAMM after I did that photo shoot. Just people just like, there's a level of like, I guess, I don't know, man, maybe because people respect you more because it takes discipline, you know, to look a certain way. I don't know. But yeah, it's just about that. All that's bullshit, man. It's just all about feeling good in your own skin, you know, and taking care of your body, man. Because it's a privilege to be alive, and I don't want to take that for granted at all.
I remember, I think it was Arnold Schwarzenegger said at some point that like being like ripped and fit is something that no one can buy, and they cannot steal that for you because it's yours. You cannot lend to anyone. It's something that goes with a lot of discipline, and that's why we used to you know admire people that is in a good fit because definitely we know it's a hard work to get there. Same thing when people can maybe speak a language, fluently, a different language than they mother tongue, or even with music, with the guitar. Like when we see a great guitar player, we know that it's been a lot of work behind, and it's not about buying that skill. Look, everything that is skill or discipline driven, psychologically for people is something that we tend to admire. Even if we don't say so, because we are a little bit, maybe envy about it, but yeah, like, but we do. So, Angel, we have some silly games to do with you to end this beautiful conversation, and I think Boca wants to do that.
Yeah, for sure.
And
Talk too much.
I think it will be like a good ending for this beautiful time. And before that, thank you so much for all this beautiful. I mean, I'm so happy to see you. That's the first thing, and you look great. And we are so happy you are the first, and you took the virginity of the podcast, as you said before. So yeah, whenever we get better with this, we'll call you again to do a proper thing by our side. But you were fantastic.
No, dude, I appreciate it, man. It really does mean a lot. I'm very grateful to be, one of the first guests to sort of get things underway for you guys. And I think what you're doing, again, like I said it before, is just absolutely wonderful, to sort of connect people in a different community who also love guitar playing. And I just love seeing your faces, man. It's been such a joy talking to you. But I'm looking forward to this little game over here.
In the next one, I will have a talk with you only.
Yeah, because I will be out because I don't stop speaking.
No.
Talking.
Yeah, it's like a silly game. So you have to choose one between two guitar players, the one you love most, okay? So, Ingve versus Joe Satriani.
Ingve.
Okay. Ingve versus Steve Vai.
Vai.
Okay. Vai versus Paco de Lucía.
Me duele.
Muy difícil.
Yeah, it's difficult. Paco, okay. Yeah, Paco versus John Petrucci.
Petrucci.
Oh. Petrucci versus Andy James.
Petrucci. I'm sorry, Andy. I love you, man.
No worries. Petrucci versus Tosin Abasi.
Petrucci. Sorry, Tosin. I love you, dude.
Yeah. Petrucci versus Eric Johnson.
Eric Johnson. I said that too fast. Sorry, John. I love you, man. I feel like I'm making enemies now.
Eric Johnson versus Brian May.
Eric Johnson.
Eric Johnson versus Joe Bonamassa.
I feel like Eric Johnson's going to win all of these.
Oh, are you sure? Yeah. Eric Johnson versus Marty Friedman.
Eric Johnson.
Okay. You will kill him.
No. I'll say Marty because, it's like...
Estoy nervioso ahora.
Eric Johnson versus Jason Becker.
Eric Johnson.
Johnson versus Steve Morse.
That's a really, you have to send him a WhatsApp. Oh,
Heads Eric Johnson, tails Steve Morse. Heads Eric Johnson. Because they're, for me, está igual. Like, it's
mom and dad,
50-50.
yeah.
Yeah, good one. So, Eric Johnson versus Richie Kotzen.
Johnson.
I think we got the winner at this point. Yeah.
And Steve Lukather.
Eric Johnson versus
Steve Lukather.
Eric Johnson.
Okay.
So, Eric,
hello, I agree with man.
we have more, but I think
I want
it
to.
will win.
I want to agree with the other one.
One more, for example, Eric Johnson versus Alan Holdsworth.
Okay, Eric Johnson. I thought, okay, you want to know one that would be tough for me? Would probably be Eric Johnson and Andy Timmons. Like,
Yeah, I have it here.
okay. Yeah, Eric Johnson versus Andy Timmons would be very difficult. Eric Johnson versus Steve Morse would be very difficult. God, who else would it be? Yeah, Marty Friedman was tough too, I gotta say. Yeah, man, those are tough. But between Morse and and Andy Timmons, because the thing is with and Andy Timmons, the thing with Andy Timmons is there's a sort of like raw a rawness with his playing, but he commands it so well. But man, Eric Johnson, there's just like that was like the first instrumentalist I ever heard in my life that inspired me to do instrumental music. But outside of that, he is just a complete guitarist, like a complete guitarist, a complete songwriter. He just has something, man. No one sounds like him. Like no one sounds like any of those guys, especially Morris. But yeah, that's tough. That was a hard one.
We have another one very quick before we go. So the idea is very quick. If we had to create a perfect guitar player, okay, I will ask you for some characteristics of the guitar player, and we will try to find, the guitar player that will bring that characteristic to our Frankenstein to make the perfect one. Let's say, for example, which guitar player has the best time feel, in your opinion, to put in this perfect guitar player we were about to build? Time feel, right? It's like time feel, picking. We'll go through some of the characteristics, and you just tell us your favorite one in that field. Like,
okay.
First one will be when it comes to time feel in melodies, time feel. Which one?
In the realm of metal?
Nope. Any guitar player, any style.
Any guitar player. Time feel, I would have to say Andy Timmons. I would have to say Andy Timmons for that one. Yeah.
Phrasing?
That's a tough one, man. I would have to say, phrasing, Jesus Christ. Because it is, like, how do you even answer that?
Got you off guard with this one.
Yeah, I would have to say Pat Metheny for me.
Pat Metheny, beautiful, love it.
Yeah.
When it comes to bending strings, the best guitar bender that you can tell?
My first instinct, now I'm going old school guitars because there's so many new school guitars that it's impossible for me to like reference. Bending Malmsteen, man. I mean,
Malmsteen. Be careful, because next one is vibrato, and probably
let me see. Vibrato. I will say, okay, so one of my newer favorites is Brandon Ellis. I think his vibrato
for
is
sure.
absolutely incredible.
it is crazy.
Malmsteen's another one with great vibrato.
Malmsteen.
Awesome. Gus G's vibrato is pretty sick too.
Yep.
And Marty Friedman. Those are my vibrato guys.
We can have all of them, because it's Frankenstein.
It's a Frankenstein. So
Yeah.
let's throw them all in there.
You gotta throw them. What about alternate picking?
Alternate picking, Petrucci. I mean,
Petrucci. We know there are many of them, but it's your favorite. Don't worry.
Steve Morse.
Steve Morse.
I gotta say more.
Yeah, for sure.
Actually, maybe it's the Godfather. The alternate picking. We all know that John loves, Steve Morse and all these influences. So
Yeah, I think John Petrucci would also agree with me.
I do think the same.
I don't know how he picks the spread triads so fucking fast. That's impossible.
And articulated, yeah.
I don't know how he does it, man.
I don't know, man. So economy picking?
Economy picking. So I know Brendan Ellis is a really big economy picker as well. I'll say Brendan Ellis.
Okay.
Have you heard about Speedo?
Oh, Peter Ducius.
I was literally I feel like you channeled my brain just now because I was literally thinking him as well. Now, Spiro is, in my opinion, like the most advanced technical guitarist right now. Hands
So
down. I would say second to him would be Stefan Taranto.
Yep.
Hands down. And then there's another guy, because so there are generations of different guitarists. So obviously, I'm going to go on a tangent here, but this could be a reel. It doesn't have to be in the podcast.
Okay.
So obviously in the 80s and 90s, Joe Satriani, Steve Vai, Eric Johnson, yada, yada, yada. In the 90s, then you had like like Michael Lee Firkins. Greg Howe was still doing his thing. Greg Howe's another big influence.
Greg.
Gary Hoy, if you guys.
Oh, Gary Hoy, of course.
You know, and then in the 2000s, there was a new wave of guitar instrumentalists. And a lot of these guitar instrumentalists, when the internet was first starting out, were part of an event called Gemfest. So the 2000s guitarists were like me, Rusty Cooley, Rob Balducci, German Schaus, you know, all these early, the Jonester was another one, these early old school guys, right?
Yeah.
And I will say that ran up until like 2000, from like 99 to 2005 or so. And then once 2005 happened, I think like Scale the Summit started coming out.
Yes.
Animals, I started popping off a little bit. So then obviously 2010 happened, and then it just blew up. Everyone was, you know, guitar instrumentalists started becoming much more prevalent. That's when like Animals as Leaders and myself, you know,
I get it.
Plania, I think started around 2010. Intervals, you know, then 2014 was when it really started with Polyphia and Nick Johnston and all those guys. So there's different waves of guitar instrumental. Now, I will say since 2020,
yep,
there's a whole new wave of guitar instrumentalists, because I think Polyphia has such an amazing impact. So I would say like maybe like the late 2010s, early 2020s, you have like the Ichicanitos, the Polyphias, you know, and a bunch of these other guys. Baxty, you know,
yes,
just unbelievable guitar player. I'm sure these people will probably pop up on my feed right now because I'm talking about them, and it's just listening to, you know. There's like there's this, I call it like, and they're okay. So you know how guitar players, when they're playing a specific type of guitar, you know exactly what type of music they're going to play.
Yeah.
When someone has a Sir, I know exactly what they're going to play before they have a guitar.
Yes.
I call these the Abasi players because they're all playing Abasis.
Yeah.
There's this one guy. Man, he's friends with Baxty. I can't remember his name. But there's just like there's a whole new level. Like Spiro's in there, Terrano, and like there's a new level of guitar players now over the past 2 or 3 years that are just unbelievable, just technique, just phrasing is just out of this world. And it's interesting to see because again, they're being influenced by, you know, like my generation of guitar players, as opposed to us who were inspired by like, you know, the Vias and Satriani's. Like a lot of them don't even listen to Vias and Satriani. They know about them, of course, you know, but they're not sitting here listening to Passion and Warfare, you know, because the genre of music is different. You know, they're not listening to rock. They're listening to progressive metal guitar players. So yeah, man, but when you look at the waves of different generations of guitar instrumentalists and lead guitar players, man, it is just amazing. I think it's our responsibility as older guitarists. We're not old yet. We're just older.
Yeah. It's a perspective thing.
It's up to us to really listen to the young kids now in their 20s and to listen to them with zero envy and zero jealousy, and to simply say, man, I can learn from this guy. That's it. We don't, there's no need to compete with younger people or anyone at all, man.
Makes no sense.
No need to do it. You can do it to help you inspire, but there's friendly competition and then there's toxic competition. When we're young, we do toxic competition. Stop that shit. Stop it. You're never going to sound like that. You're always going to sound like you, man. Let yourself evolve with what you're seeing. That pit in your stomach, that feeling of jealousy, just take a deep breath and just be like, it's okay, because there's probably people out there who look at what you do and wish they could do that.
For sure, not only for sure that is happening at this point. Like,
yeah, so just chill out.
Yeah, I was that kind of guy when I was like 15, 16 years old. Yeah, I just want to be the best guitar player in the world, you know? I think that's a common thing.
Yeah, it happens at some point.
Yeah. So, and that's
But in the 90s,
pretty well.
in the 90s was different because there wasn't internet. So I thought I was the best in the world. But then probably in my city, there were like 10 better than me, but I didn't know. So whatever.
Yeah, man. But I'll say this one thing. Competition is useful because the desire to be the best guitarist in the world is what made you be the best guitarist that you can be.
Yeah, for sure.
That is way, way, way more important, because the best in the world just doesn't exist. Our brains can't quantify. Our brains can't even imagine what that is.
Yeah.
Because you could be Spiro, but what if you like acoustic guitar playing?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
you're not going to be the best guitarist in the world. Tommy Emmanuel's going to be the best guitarist in the world, just one, you know? So just focus on being the best guitarist that you can be.
Yeah.
And that's it.
So the last, this being said, which is beautiful, and this will go on the podcast definitely, but to end this Frankenstein of a guitar player, I will skip all of the characteristics after this, and I go with the last one, which is best attitude for our guitar player.
Andy Timmons, number
one.
100% without batting an eye, Andy Timmons.
That's great.
Because Andy Timmons, despite him being an absolute legend in all of his posts and every conversation I've ever had with him, he's always asking questions. He always wants to learn. Another one, Mike Stern. Mike Stern is a jazz fusion guy. He just asks people questions. He doesn't care. And these guys are in their 50s and 60s. They do not care about how good that they are. They're asking questions to young people. They're asking questions. When they do a guitar camp, like, they're in the audience, you know? Like, that's how I plan to be. So I really look up to their attitude, because they're just, they just love to learn, man. And they don't let their mentality or their legendary status, in my eyes anyway, interfere with them even getting better in their 50s and 60s. And I a lot of respect for them.
That's a healthy way to look at the competition you were talking about. So we survived the first podcast. So there's something that Borja, do you have any further questions to do to Angel?
No, I don't think so.
Not really?
Yeah.
Are you satisfied?
Yeah.
Really?
I'm really satisfied.
What about you, Angel? What do you think?
Oh, this was incredible, man. I think the conversation was just, it was magical. It was a gift. You know, I'm very, very grateful for that. And I'm grateful for your attitude as well. Everyone here. Like,
thank you.
Props to you guys. I think, you know, you guys have always, both of you guys have known, you know, obviously, Borja, I've known you for a number of years more, I think, than the Persephone guys. And, you know, your playing is obviously, both of your playings are very, very inspiring to me. Anytime you can come up, or I see a guest flow that you guys do, I'm like, fuck, this is incredible. But the most important thing is that you guys are wonderful people.
Thank you.
And you guys have a tremendous amount to offer the world outside of even music. And I think that this podcast is going to be an example of your additional artistic inspirations, rather your artistic contributions to, you know, the guitar community and the music community. So I'm very grateful to be on here, man.
Thank you very much, man. Really.
It's definitely out of comfort zones. We're having a really hard time.
Yeah.
But we are happy we are doing this. We have a beautiful team with us also, so we are really grateful about it. And thank you very much. Will you, of course, to everyone watching this first episode, if you didn't know Angel before, please check him out, all the music and other interviews. He's a beautiful human being. I have a really funny story about how I met him, and I will tell it in the future.
Also, we are going to put all the links from him.
Of course, all the links for about your music and your career. And then before we say goodbye, there's something that I know Borja loves beyond
Nope.
everything else in the world,
Nope.
which is saying goodbye to the audience. Yeah, do it for us. Or another way, maybe.
Yeah.
Angel, can you
That'd be
please
cool.
say goodbye
Yeah.
to everyone watching in Spanish? That would be a beautiful ending.
The beautiful.
Vaya con Dios.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Muchas gracias, Ángel.
Thank you very much, man. Really.
Nos vemos pronto
Pleasure.
y un gran abrazo.
Y a tú también.
Gracias. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye bye.